Now, say my name.
The Rolling Bad Podcast.
You're goddamn right.
Coming to you almost live from the Kurnoth in Rio Rancho, New Mexico, it's the Rolling Bad Podcast, episode number 155. It is November 12th, and I'm your host, Bill. The woods just got darker. Costello, and with me?
All the way from the Roving Ma, it's Joshua Gorgeous Alt.
Love it.
Little play on words there, yeah.
Oh,
hey.
You elocutionary guy. Okay, anyway. Wow. So I guess it kind of, I'm not saying buried the lead, because the title of the show is Harbinger's Book 3, The Long Hunt, and that's what we're covering today.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you actually look at the lore, the hunt's not that long, but yeah, it's there's a lot of great stuff, though, in this book. We'll talk a bit about how the story maybe not be the best of the series so far, but the types of armies of renown you're getting in this book, oh my goodness, the continuation of the Dawnbringer Crusade. Yeah, it's there's a lot of good narrative stuff in here, and a lot of stuff for people who may have felt like their armies weren't getting love.
Yeah, it's I would say very lore. We'll talk about what's weird with the lore, but you start getting to the rules and you're just like, oh my God, oh my God. So there's a lot to digest in the rules section of that book. Not so much even the Path to Glory, because, well, we'll cover that when we get to the Path to Glory stuff, but we've seen it before, but it's completely new and reskinned, and also it's still very cool. We'll cover it. We'll get to that. In the intro, some big announcements that I want to make, or some big, I should have probably waited till after dark, but I'm not gonna. All the prize packs are mailed out as of yesterday. I finally rescued all the boxes from the security office. Promise to God, I will never take that shortcut again. That was literally 6 weeks of, this is stupid. You are monstrously stupid as a human being. How have you survived without your mommy? Anyway, more on After Dark.
Yes. Yes.
If you are listening to this, full disclosure, we did a pre-After Dark last week that released on Wednesday or Thursday for the patrons, mostly because we had some stuff we wanted to go over, and it had nothing to do with nothing.
Yeah.
It was about conquest, the last argument of kings. Just so you know, we may be doubling up on some of that information here, and if so, apologies, but, hey, everybody should hear us wax poetic, I guess. Yeah. The elephant in the room, the 600-pound gorilla, you call it what you want, is the new GW website. Not a fan. Oh, my God, not a fan. I just don't, 60 years old here. Maybe I'm technology challenged, but from the way I use that website and look at it, it's just not handy anymore. I can barely find what I want. And what I truly hate is, like, you put in search terms and it just comes up with a variety of the stuff they want to sell you rather than what you were looking for. Hey, I'm looking for Stormcast Paladins. Have you looked at the Space Marine and Furnace Marines? And I'm like, what? So, I'm not a fan. Plus, it doesn't have my orders. It actually threw away one of my orders. Literally just said, nope. I mean, we got your money, but yeah, you didn't order that. Ugh. So I'm like, okay. Did get that squared away. They figured out what went wrong. Luckily, I had the email that said, we've got your order, but not a fan. What about you?
Not very intuitive. I tried playing with it for about 10 minutes. Same kind of thing, search for, product, mostly looking at Ogres, and what happens, I get redirected to where I don't want to be. Yeah. I'm just like, forget it. I'm going to go shop on eBay.
I hate to say this, but GW, you're not tech savvy.
Yes.
And I can pretty much say that your IT department is lacking. And I don't mean the people, but I mean the skill sets are probably a little lacking. So don't try to double down into things that you're not good at.
Oh, yeah. But this has been an issue. Their whole internet presence has
Yeah.
been an issue for a long time, with how they were able to, get the site was attacked. So, it crashed and they can't handle the load of people trying to log on, even though they've instituted this, queue system. It's just been a mess for so long.
Yeah, it's a hot mess. And heading into, I heard some horror stories about yesterday with the army boxes, not only selling out almost instantly, which is different because they don't usually sell out that well, then people just having these crazy queues. Like one guy would jump in and he'd have a 3-minute queue. He'd be next to a guy on his phone who had a 4.5-hour queue. And he's just like, why? What? So I don't know. They'll fix it. They'll figure it out. I hope. I have faith. It's 2023. There are people out there that can help you with things like the web. And, they call them web developers, and they're actually not that expensive. You should buy some. Then you could make models of them. Okay.
CEO's over here like, can you help me open a PDF, please?
Yeah, it's terrible, but yeah, especially with that new Acrobat version. Oh my God. It's just, I could rant about that for 2.5 hours.
Oh, right.
About Adobe just shoving this Acrobat change down your throat saying, yeah, this is your new workflow. This is how it works. Well, we don't like it. Oh, shut up. We know what you want. It's the whole Microsoft, Apple mentality of,
yep.
We know what you want. We did focus group testing, so we obviously got this. Wow. Okay, sure.
Real quick, because I don't think it really fits anywhere else right now in the intro.
Sure.
For all of you who know me through this podcast, you know how big a fan I am of the Flesh Eater courts and the reveal of the Seneschal, the Gore Warden model. Oh, Lord. Oh, I got the vapors. And
were you swooning?
I was a little bit. I had my fainting couch, thankfully. Whew. So I was able to recover after some time. But God, it's gorgeous looking. The way that they've baked the lore of it into it, like, why does it have all these keys? Well, like, it's actually more symbolic than they actually do anything, The way the bones are configured around its neck is because, they serve the Summer King, right? And how if you kind of like scroll down, they talk about how they lead like, these knights and ladies, right? And if you click on that link, it takes you to the crit flares and the... Why am I blanking on this?
Because
the flares are the only ones that really matter.
Yeah, right now.
Yeah. But the fact that it's like the leader, so I'm hoping it sort of supplants courtiers in a way.
Yeah.
It'll be the leader for your bigger, 3-man units for the Flesh Eater courts. And they talked about there's so many more like new aspects of royalty coming. I just can't wait for them to drop that Summer King. If this is just like one of his guys who patrols the border. Yeah. Right. What's the Summer King going to look like?
What's that going to be? And that's kind of scary in a way. I think it's going to be we know they're due for an army-wide revamp. And I truly believe they're going to not just change the play style of Flesh Eater courts, but they're going to change that mindset of really how they operate. And boy, all signs point to it's going to be good.
Yeah.
It's going to be good.
Going to point to Big Daddy showing up.
Oh, yeah. And, who knows? He might make an appearance in DawnBringers Book 7 or 12 or,
However many they have to do before they get to 4.0, right?
I think it was scheduled for 5 books, right? I thought that
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, I thought at the beginning they said 5 books, but I mean, look what happened to the end and the death. It's now, here's this book. It's going to wrap everything up. It's 2 books. Nah, it's 3 books. Oh, and in between, we're going to have Graham McNeil write a couple of books. Oh, stop.
Yeah.
So.
Spoilers. Sanguinius dies.
What? Oh, that. Wow. Thanks for that. Great. I'm throwing away my blood angels.
Sorry, guys. Sorry.
The only reason they exist is because Sanguinius died. Okay, cool. Yeah. All right. So let's just seamlessly move into New Dawn. We're not going to cover everything. We're going to cover some highlights. I had put down on here that the Army Box deals are out. but they're not anymore.
Well, they're out.
Well, that's true.
Yeah,
They're
they are out.
and gone.
Yeah. So if you didn't get one, feels bad.
It's most of those deals were just Ganga deals.
No, they were insane.
Insane
They were insane.
price savings.
I didn't get any. There's nothing really that was for any of the armies I'm actively working on, but
Right.
If one of those was for one of your armies, God, it was going to be the best deal that you could ever get.
The OBR box was like 77% off.
It was absurd.
Yeah, it was nuts.
It was absurd. And with how good people are starting to show that the what are they called? The flying dudes with the sides?
Yeah. Wow.
Wow, it's a 3-day weekend, folks, so brain's a little foggy.
Oh boy, ain't it though?
Right, but yeah, so you get 4 of those. You get the leader on the horse. I mean, you just get so many good.
Yeah, you got a
models over
Cavalos and it's just such a great box.
Yeah, it's kind of almost anything you'd want to have in an OBR army, unless you want to get Catacross in there.
Yeah, there were no slugs. There was nothing bad in that box. And most of the army boxes this time around were the same kind of thought process went into it. It's not like, oh, you're going to get these 2 cool models, but here's the ones that we're not moving all that well. So, no, there wasn't a lot of that. So,
Soulblight looked almost identical to the one from last year, but I think they added another unit or something. But it was still like looking at it, I was like, man, if you are in for Soulblight, get this box.
It's your instant army starter.
Mm-hmm. So many of those all across, AOS and 40K. I was kind of hoping for some Gloom Spike kits because I want to blow my 5,500 points up to 7,000 if I can. But I mean, I think they just dropped Trug, so why would they really release more? Or maybe they could have held off until we had Flesh Eater Courts and then dropped a bomb Flesh Eater Courts box.
God, that would have been. I think you have to wait for the new edition for that.
Might have to. I think they'll do a launch box for them.
I hope so.
With how they're ramping up the new models for it, I think they're going to have a launch box.
Yeah, I do believe they will have a. Yeah, it almost has to at this point because it's the stuff they're spoiling and teasing is just so off the hook.
Yeah, and they have, rumor is new ghouls coming down.
Yeah.
And, I mean, anyone who played Flesh Eater Course before has 80 to
120 ghouls.
Ghouls. So we're going to need the new sculpts to make up for what those ones look like.
I know. Wow.
God, those old ones are so bad. But one of my favorite models comes out of the Crypt Ghoul kit.
Yeah.
It's the one where you have the one that's like dragging like the top part of a skeleton.
Oh, yes.
And I call that date night.
Yeah. Oh, God. That's just wrong.
There are actually 2 arms that do that. So I had one that was dragging 2 half skeletons. So it was double date night.
Oh, God. That's so wrong. Wow, you're twisted. That's cool.
Yeah, it's Flesh Eater Courts, right?
It is.
Yeah, so that's the army box stuff.
That's the army box stuff. So also that came out was the 2 Harbingers boxes came out. Mm-hmm. The Ionis Cryptborn and the Blades of Belthanos, both of which we're just going to lightly touch on now because they're very cool boxes. But when we get to the Regiments of Renown, we'll go a little nutty on them. So they're very, very cool. The Black Talons box came out. So if you've been keeping up with Nev Black Talon and if you watch the animation, they're all here. And they have a Regiment of Renown. Well, they're actually their own unit. And we'll get to it when we get to that section of the rules, but they didn't do what I thought they would do and faction lock them. So they can be taken in any order army, which is really good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They're a really interesting unit. I mean, really interesting.
And I think they finally did her right.
I think so.
Her ability to pop in there, get a couple of hits in, do some damage, and then just immediately pop out is very Black Talon-ish. So I like it.
Yeah. I feel like they captured the idea in the rules of what they are in the show. I feel that,
Yeah, they did. They got that theme correct, I would say. What's the Harbinger of Never Present?
Harbinger of Decay that you didn't.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's that part goes in after dark, but yes, the Harbinger of Decay for Nurgle, it did come out.
Yes. Yeah.
Not mine.
Yeah. By itself.
But yeah, all by itself. And not that I have one. Yeah, there was a slight snafu with my order, but the store manager made it right, so it's all good.
The Harbinger of Decay newest model is still just so gorgeous. I mean,
yeah,
they really did a strong glow up from the old one, and like I love how it just so directly ties to the old model.
Yeah,
they didn't try and do something zany and go off on it. No, they actually kept it in terms of what it was. Even though I think the character in the book was not a good character.
No,
I almost said some After Dark words.
Yeah, I saw you.
It's like oh.
One of the things that struck me about that Harbinger of Decay, and the reason I wanted to get that model more than anything else, was it reminds me of the old sculpture of, I mean, this is a, what's his name? A Remington sculpture, not gaming, but The Last of the Mohegans.
Oh, yeah.
That horse and just that basically tired look.
Oh, wow.
And that silhouette just, it struck me as so similar that I was like, wow, that's kind of weird, but cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's I'm waiting. It's supposed to be in this week. So
knock on wood.
We shall see. Yeah, knocking on wood. Of course, next week is the Atlanta GW thing where they're trying to get into this, the arena of putting on world championship type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a weird place for them to be, with them being partners with Frontline Gaming for, LVO, Bay City Open, Atlantic City Open, and all those big conventions. It's odd for them to have their own little sort of in-house, totally different rules, totally different way of making the top tables and all that stuff. But again, it's a different format, and it's might appeal to a different set of people. And I mean, there are people that just absolutely hate Frontline Gaming, because all they're trying to do is help. Yeah, whatever. So it's just, I don't know. It's just a different way of running a big tournament and a big worldwide event.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have it in Atlanta, Georgia, which makes it really, really difficult for where the majority of the players, I mean, let's face it, America's big.
Mm-hmm.
Europe has a lot of players, and, you've made it harder for them to attend. So no biggie, but they're also doing the narrative at the same time, and that those narratives are off the hook.
Oh, yeah.
It's when you have the facilities of the entire company at your back, you can put on some pretty good shows.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, we're supposed to get reviews and reveals, right?
17th. Yeah.
17th. Yeah.
Yeah, there's supposed to be a big, and they're saying it's going to be a Gunga reveal show.
Okay.
I wonder if they're going to. It's straight and call me crazy. Yeah, you're crazy, but I'm wondering if the new AOS 4.0 isn't going to be a summer release, but a late spring release. Drop these 2 books, drop the next 2 Harbingers books, probably one not in the December timeframe because that's choked with other releases. January timeframe, then maybe February, March for the 5th book, leading you right into, I don't know, April, May. Maybe there will just, I mean, they did say that the General's Handbook was going to be there for a year.
Mm-hmm.
And we got it in June. So that kind of tells you that it's a summer release.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It just feels to me like they're ramping more and more towards a new edition faster than I think we think.
Yeah, I mean, I think they'll start particularly around probably the release of like Flesh Eater Courts, because I imagine that's going to be like right at the end of 3.0 based off how things are going. Like it was originally thought they might release, them in October.
Yeah.
But now I think they're just saying, oh, it's winter-ish or
Yeah.
something. I have to look at the timeline, but it's obviously been pushed back. And I think it's getting too close to the Christmas season for them to drop an entire new army for purchase.
Nope.
So I think it's going to be January or February before we would see the courts drop. We might get the reveals next week, but
They might have it just in the roadmap. And if that's all they do is just put it on the roadmap and say, hey, look for the new edition in June, that'd be just, okay, great. That gives us a time frame and we know what to do. So,
well, they have to drop Flesh Eater Courts as like the last book. So if they drop Flesh Eater Courts, then they can start doing their big move towards next edition. So we'll probably get like, 2-3 months lead up, kind of like they did with 40K, where it's really going to be like, hey, check out all this stuff that's going to be happening in EOS. And then, it's June. Hey, everyone. Yeah. Here's the new box. Here's,
Yeah,
So.
I'm hoping. I am cautiously optimistic, as always.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it. Like I said, I don't think there's anything horribly wrong with this edition other than the bloat of the rules has gotten to,
Too much.
Yeah. Like you said the other day, when you're having to put out units that ignore ward saves, you've probably leaned too much into, something. So anyway, let's move on with more New Dawn stuff. The skirmish case.
Yeah.
There is a little plastic skirmish case, and this thing is little. I mean, it is maybe 8 by 8 inches. So you're not you're not buying these for your 40K army or your AOS army. But for Warcry, for Kill Team, for anything else, super effective and a totally kind of a new way of thinking about things rather than foam or fuzz or whatever.
Yeah.
It's all little silicone fingers that stick down. And the top and the bottom are exactly the same, but they nest, which is really nice. So if you have 2 or 3 of these, I don't know why, but you can mix and match, and why you would do that, I don't know. But those little silicone fingers are kind of cool because they hold models in place really, really well.
Yep.
Without a lot of our models have swords sticking out. If you play Night Haunt and you got Lady Alinder plus a whole bunch of blade guys, you're really used to super gluing everything back together before the game.
Yeah.
I think this case goes a long way towards fixing that.
Yep.
And I don't know. I think it's probably, I don't know. I'm glad I bought it. I will use it. I don't know. This is probably a trial balloon to see how the technology works for people.
Yeah.
And they might do a bigger case with this kind of an idea. So
that could be good.
And if they do, I'd be happy.
I was there when we saw the demonstration of it, put 2 to 3 models in and then literally threw it on the ground and kicked it, opened it back up, and models were just fine.
Yeah. I mean, it does what it says on the tin. Of course, it's GW pricey, so.
Yeah.
So that's about it for New Dawn. Obviously, we will see what happens with the news at 11. I don't expect anything major this time because the army boxes just popped. We may see the tools come out because November is like tool month. So
I know a few at work. Yeah.
I'm not saying it.
What color is that ribbon?
Yes.
Gray.
All right. So we should probably just roll right into creation, which for me is easy.
Me too, actually.
Like I said, I bought the Black Talons. I bought the Blades of Belthanos. That Belthanos box is definitely rising very quickly to, I like that. I think he is going to be a cool ad. And you'll hear it in the lore section why it's an impactful box.
Yep.
But other than that, the only thing I have done is building and a little bit of paint on some Conquest models. With the busted finger, it's not fun to assemble anything. It's not really fun to paint, but I did get some test paint on some trolls to see how they'll work, and so far not too bad.
Yeah, they look pretty good from here.
Yeah, they're going to be passable.
Yeah.
So I got my doggos done for the Nords. I may or may not. Okay, no, I did buy a bunch of city-state stuff because, totally the Greek thing is just, and they play so strange.
Yes.
Their main rule is just such a game-breaking thing.
Yep.
It's nuts, and I like it. It's fun.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things as you get into more of what the city-states are, where they have like clockwork, steampunky stuff, and they literally can create their own gods, and like they, if you lose an arm, you'll get like a cool clockwork arm replacement, and then Minotaurs join the humans, and it's It's a really cool theme, and since it's the newest line from Parabellum, they are beautiful models.
Just gorgeous sculpts, and just the flexibility of being able to put an auxiliary Minotaur in with your light infantry.
Right.
It's a real eye-opener for some armies that just are like, hey, that's not fair.
Yeah, I mean, it puts them in a position where like they can score on turn 1.
Yeah.
Like it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I just had to look back at the notes from our last show, and I didn't realize how much actual conquest I painted, because that's all I've been painting too. So Bill introduced, I mean, you know, if you heard the After Dark from last week,
I did this.
It was ranty. Yeah, but Bill got me into it. I saw the spires. I was like, that's some Dark Souls stuff.
Yes, it is.
And so I started getting all the spires stuff, you know, and then lo and behold, I looked at Old Dominion and I was like, that's more Dark Souls stuff.
It's way more Dark Souls.
That's like the bad guys of Dark Souls stuff. And so, yeah, I mean, I've built and painted a Lineage Highborn, 3 Avatara, 3 Incarnate Sentinels, 3 Brute Drones, and I assembled and primed 2 Ferromancers and the High Clone Executor.
Jeez.
I have a box of Vanguard clones, which I'm not sure if I want to do the clones or the infiltrators right now, so I'm kind of up in the air on that. But pivoted to Old Dominion real hard.
Yeah, you did.
As of next week, I'll have all 1,000 points in my first list. So
Jeez.
very purposeful purchases. You know, I'm not like,
Nice,
you know, errantly buying stuff like I was with Spires. I was like, that's cool. These things are still cool. But so with that, I built and painted a box of the Carius, which are like the hooded ghost dudes. Don't tell GW I said this, but better Night Haunt models. Because you can build them as either the Carius, which have like the fireballs and javelins and stuff, or you can build them as the Moroi, which are like stabby dudes. Built and painted a box of Carius. I have a box of Moroi. I built and painted the Archimandrite, which is the warlord for my army at 1,000 points.
Nice.
Built and primed a box of Legionnaires, and I have another box of Legionnaires queued up. Ooh. I'm just waiting on my Bone Golems and a Hierodeacon to round out the list. So I went real hard.
Yeah.
On Old Dominion.
Sounds like it. Jeez. That's cool.
Yeah.
It's you know, one difference, and we spoke about this on the Patreon show, is it's not that expensive to jump into a new army in this game.
Oh no.
There's a GW tax, let's face it.
Yeah.
Just to buy the GW models, you're paying a lot just for the fact that it's GW.
Correct.
Parabellum is still at that point of they want to get the stuff out there. They want to get the game heard about. So, and it's quite a good game. And so, yeah, things are still, you know, the boxes of units that you need are $40, $50. And that's for the 12 models that you need to field that unit. And then you can flesh it out from there. So it's much easier to get into a different army than, say, I'm going to pivot from Daughters of Cain into Stormcast. Well, there's a chunk of money.
Yeah. Well, the starter sets that they have in Conquest are just so much value.
So bonkers good.
Yeah, the value you get there is absurd. You're usually getting like 30-ish% discount off of just buying the models.
Yep.
If you want the stuff that's in that box.
Yep.
Like my 1,000-point list for Old Dominion, if I bought everything full retail, which I didn't, right? It's less than $300 for a 1,000-point army.
Yeah.
Right?
So, yeah, it's good.
It's good.
Jump into Conquest. You won't regret it. It's rank and flank, but it's rank and flank done smart.
Yeah. Done right in a way that I, who hated that kind of gameplay, didn't want to do.
I agree. And I'm looking at the teasers they did for Old World and the movement shenaniganry, and I'm like, they haven't learned. They didn't get it. They missed the memo.
Oh no, my 40 clan rats got stuck on a fence, and so I'm gonna have to spend the next 3 turns. Pivot, advance, pivot, advance,
slide.
Yeah.
You know, I know what they're doing, and they're trying not to make it far too different from Warhammer Fantasy Battles, the thing that, you know, so many people left the hobby over with the drop of Age of Sigmar. They want to appeal to those people as well as the new crowd. And so it's simplified from fantasy battles, but there's still a lot of holdovers that are 80s game design mechanics. Although, perhaps their realism is better, but if it makes the gameplay more difficult, is it worthwhile?
Yeah.
And I keep thinking back to what Alessio Cavatore said about, good game design. You've arrived at the right place when there's nothing more you can take away.
Yeah.
And I think that mindset isn't there. So it's a different kind of game, and it will have its strengths and weaknesses just like everybody else has strengths and weaknesses. So not trying to badmouth GW or anything, because it's their game. It's different. It's going to be their way. So, and it will probably be fun. So, all right. So battle, you want to lead us off? 'Cause your notes here are,
Yeah, it was a really
I was about to call.
rough couple weeks at work, having to deal with just incompetent attorneys and some politics stuff, and people getting in trouble and then pointing the fingers at other people, and then some people's jobs getting called into question but then not. And it was one of the roughest weeks I've had in some time. So was it Thursday into Friday, and I had Friday off because I work for the government.
Yay.
I got 2 hours of sleep and then had to get up and research law, because I had to figure out stuff for people. But in the meantime, I was painting too, right?
Yeah,
So it was,
sure.
Paint, do the law, paint, do the law, the things I like doing. That, and then things finally started to settle down, but I still haven't really slept very well because of that stuff. You know? So I'm
I
like,
hear you.
when you don't sleep well for a number of days, my body's just sore.
Yeah.
Right? Not sick sore, but almost like I've been going too long.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, sleep. I did a safety briefing the other day for work about sleep deprivation and how quite literally you bank sleep. And as you start to withdraw more than you're depositing, there are physical effects and there are mental effects. And if a interesting stat that I saw was after you have gone with deprived sleep for more than 3 days, each 2 hours that you're missing of the average 7 hours, it changes for each person, but the average 7 hours of sleep, it actually equates to having 1 drink when you're driving a car. That's how much it affects your reaction times and your ability to basically see and react. Yep. And I'm like, that is ridiculous. And you don't think about it because, hey, we're always tired. We're always a little bit down here, and it's not a great idea to be that way.
No,
it's not good. So get some sleep, damn it, Josh.
Well, if you hear me snoring on the podcast, everyone, just know that I went out.
It'll be a good thing. Yeah. And I won't wake you. I'll be like, and then the Harbinger said.
The Harbinger?
We'll do an ASMR podcast. All right. So, yeah.
So, yeah, that was just a lot of stuff to deal with.
Yep.
But it's starting to go on the upswing, so
nice.
It'll be nap time this afternoon, and then
good.
Try and get some good sleep for tomorrow. But yeah, so that's really kind of the only battle I had. Haven't been able to play any games yet. Particularly, I'm looking at playing Conquest. I just want to get my 1,000-point list done first.
Yep. I'd like to do a 1,000-point game just to get the rules down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, here's just a Jotner and a Jotner and a Jotner.
Here, yeah. Here's my 1 leader and his 3 giants. Oh, this is a fun game. Yeah, no. No, I would not do that. That would not
have
be
a Sons of Behemoth player. Come on.
Yeah, it's true, though. I bought into SOB hard because, man, it just, destruction is so cool. God.
And they're so good right now, too.
Oh, my Lord. So getting better. As far as my battle goes, can I not talk about it? Because it was a throwback to me playing in the very first days of Age of Sigmar and how many mistakes I made from deployment onward. And I was aghast at how stupid I was playing Stormcast. And, I had reached the point to where I thought I was getting okay with Stormcast. I'd been playing them between them and Daughters quite a bit. All my games were basically between those 2 factions, and I was like, I should not be making these stupid mistakes, literally taking units out of the game in deployment because they just simply can't move that fast.
Yeah.
And just I amaze myself with how stupid I was. It did not help. I was playing against a Skaven army that was finely tuned to play against Stormcast.
Oh, okay.
It takes a lot of work to make Skaven work against an elite sort of Stormcast army, and this basically was a test game for a tournament he has coming up, and he just wanted to take something completely that no one was expecting. And
good.
It's a good list. I think he's got some very interesting alternatives that are going to send a lot of people into, really, those units are still good, like Gisele's, Hell Pit Abominations.
Oh,
and
I love them.
Yeah, and definitely it's one of those armies that if he hasn't got the leg up by the top of turn 3, he's going to lose. And he knows that, and it's okay.
Yeah.
Like he said, he's not going out there to win. He's going out there to just basically throw something that nobody's expecting at people and see how they, he's not trying to be a gatekeeper or anything, but he just wants to throw something out there that people haven't faced because they just haven't been good in a while. So,
yeah, I think if you do a Skaven list right, you have a good chance of doing some stuff. But also, I think that people are sleeping on some of what the more unified clans can do.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you focused a clan. Because the thing is, they are just spoiled with choice, and I think that makes them weaker.
Yes.
But I feel like a focused Pestilence list would just be terrible to deal with.
Yep.
Especially with the fact that you don't need to push the Plague Furnace into battle anymore.
Some very good changes have come across that are they're under the radar.
Yeah.
People are sleeping on, I don't want to say they're sleeping on that change, but that is a very big change.
Yeah.
And it allows the Skaven player to be so much more flexible, and where they can apply pressure and threat has multiplied.
Yeah.
And it was really evident in the game that they were able to produce some sort of danger wherever they wanted to, as opposed to the way they played before, where they basically had to pick a point and say, this is where all my buffs are going to be, and this is the thing that's coming forward that is going to ruin your day. And I mean, it was strong, but you could flank it, and you could get around it and score the other objectives, and now not so much. Not so much.
Yeah, particularly they have one of the only auras of no battle shock.
Yes.
Like that's left with the furnace, right?
Oh.
And so that alone in a horde army is significant.
Yep.
I think there's a game there. I think there's play, and I think folks shouldn't sleep too much on Pestilence just for the remainder of the edition. I imagine that I know they're just breathing new life into effect now. I hope that it's going to be Skaven next edition that gets the effect treatment. A
revamp and a new line. And
I was going to say, they are the oldest line right now, aren't they?
Yep.
Because they still have the 2-pack blister with the pewter rats that you need to buy like 10 of them or something to get a unit.
It's a horrible range to buy into. If you're a new player and you want to play rats, give it up.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you can get the crazy cheap stuff from the boxes and what have you, but to get those units that unlock so many different abilities in the army, you are hunting down on eBay. And then you're getting these models, and if you're a new hobbyist and you're getting these metal models, and you're like, what do I do here? It's so slippery, and it's a bad experience to play Skaven as a new player. All those people that have good Skaven armies are already just giggling, going, I'm going to kick your butt. So.
Oh, yeah, there'd be the new player when you drop the pewter and it collapses on itself.
Oh, my God, yes. Oh, the hell.
Yeah. Like, it's one thing to break it and you have to glue it back together, right? As a Night Haunt player, you know that, Bill. And, but when you drop a metal model and it just bends in a way that you'll never be able to recover, you're like, I spent hours painting that.
And
oh my God.
And a millisecond to just bend it into a meaningless. Anyway. So, So that takes us to our first break, and you heard me sniffing because I think I smell breakfast. But we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to jump into the lore of Dawnbringers Book 3, The Long Hunt, which don't buy this book for the lore. Buy it for the meat. It's good. And boy, it's meaty.
Yeah.
So we'll be right back.
Make sure you join us tonight for the news at 11.
All right, you heard the pretty lady. Boy, if she only knew what was coming this week. Holy hand grenades. The long awaited return of Epic 40K. I mean, Legions Imperialis.
Yeah, it says epic battles in the age of dark. Yeah, okay.
You knew they had to. Yeah. They don't want it. They want to call it epic so bad, but they can't.
They can't. So it's everything that we saw from that launch box.
Yeah.
You can get the launch box, and I think, it's just the box.
Yeah, it's just the box launching along with, I think the rule book is available separately in hardback and EPUB. But it is. This is Epic coming back out. I hate that it's locked into Horus Heresy, but I understand it. This might be a little misleading, but the set contains a grand total of 223 miniatures. That's a big box. No, these are Epic scale.
Yeah.
Divided across 61 individual models, comes with dice tokens, templates, and every Warhammer veteran's favorite red measuring sticks. They brought whippy sticks back. Oh my God.
Everyone loves a whippy stick.
No, I hate them with a... and then, of course, you're going to have Legions Imperialis, the Legionis Astartes. So you're going to be able to... It looks like you're going to be able to get some boxes separately, maybe?
That's what it's looking like. I think they broke out each individual
all the
box.
Different units, yeah. So you're going to be able to get the vehicles, the Land Raiders, that looks like a Sicarian. Yeah, you're going to be able to get all the different vehicles, plus Thunderhawk gunship. The aircraft models are going to be from the Aeronautica Imperialis range. So looks to me like you're going to be able to pop them out of that stand and pop them into this one. One of the reasons I didn't build my Thunderhawk models for Imperialis was I didn't know how they were going to actually approach that. So looks like it's safe to do so. Then the Solar Auxilia. So you knew that was coming because of the just crazy amount of foreshadowing that they did, knowing that the Auxilia was going to be a part of this release. Yep. So there's your Bane Blades, there's all your aircraft. This is the direct tie-in to it's tying the game systems together.
Yep.
It's beautiful.
Like we finally got there, folks. We're bringing them in. Adeptus Titanicus. They're going to have all those models available for purchase. I mean, they already do, but it's making sure they're all available. Getting the terrain and accessories dropping or redropping. They have the army cards too.
Yes.
The bases. This is great. They already have, pre-molded bases, right?
Yep.
They have the actual flying stands. So the 40 millimeter, that's the one that all the Aeronautica Imperialis stuff is going to jump into or onto. Pop right there. Done.
Ugh, man.
Was that another map?
Yes. And then they're releasing the Carta Galactica, which is Horus Heresy era map of the galaxy. So if you want one that's black and white and looks different, there it is.
Yep.
It's a very cool looking map though. I like that. And it is showing the quadrants and the different approaches to Terra. So, it's cool. It's good. Also, for those of you that don't want to do itty bitty spacemen, you're going to be able to made to order the classic Death Leaper and the old Red Terror's back.
God, that sculpt is horrible.
Yes. Yes, it is. But if you loved it, might be worth doing the made to order. Okay, in the Dawn of Fire series, the Sea of Souls is coming out. Yay.
Next in the arc of Dawn of Fire, you have the normal and then the special edition. Ah, the Van Dents.
Yes, they're back.
Yes.
Wow.
God, their books are really good. They're really good. We're glad to see them back.
Temple of Silence. Damn. Looks good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That looks good. Then we got Hammers of Sigmar, First Forged, and The Last Volari.
Yep.
There we go. Caiaphas Cain print-on-demand books. So if you're missing some Caiaphas Cain, make sure to go for it. Then we got German and French pre-orders for Horus Heresy, and then
Book 11, Samuel Brand.
Pilgrims of Fire as well.
Yep. Very nice.
Cool. Well, it's
It's a 40K weekend.
it's an epic weekend.
It is. It's going to be epic. The amount of money I'm going to spend is going to be epic. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like you could buy just the individual stuff. You're like, I don't ever want Solar Auxilia. I just want Astartes. You know, you can go purchase all that. I think one of the major benefits to the...
You got to have the guard, man.
Yeah. I was saying you can, but I was saying one of the... I think that box is going to be the best for your money.
Oh, I think so. Yeah, for sure.
So I guess that's kind of it for News at 11. There's no AOS next week, but an epic release right before the holidays. Huh?
You betcha.
And now for something completely different.
All right. We are well fed and, well, maybe too much. So the snoring that you hear is probably going to be us.
Yeah.
I will edit out most of it, some of it. But we're here to talk about Harbinger's Book 3. We're going to gloss over the lore, mostly for a couple of reasons. One is that the lore is very all over the place. It's tying a lot of storylines together. A lot of the different stories are 1 or 2 pages and then followed by art for that particular story, if you will. But it's very I don't want to say disjointed. I don't want it to sound bad because it's not bad. It's just that it's very all over the place. They're trying to cover Knave Blacktalon and what they're doing, as well as Vandus, as well as Ionis, as well as, just every faction, Krondus, Karzai, Kragnos, plus the ogres, but everybody has their own couple of pages in here, and they're not horribly bad. It's just that they leave a lot to be desired in terms of a cohesive story about the long hunt, the campaigns that are going on. And it's kind of a weird interregnum book. I think it's this midpoint in the 5 books, and they're literally just tying up some of the storylines from the first 2 so that they can move on. Ionis Cryptborn comes back. Now, if you remember way, way back from the very original books, Ionis Cryptborn was the first Lord Relictor.
Yep.
And he defined what they should be like. And then he, basically went to Deathland. I don't want to say he died because he just went to Deathland. And he's been hanging out there for quite some time. Now he comes back with an awesome model.
Yeah.
And he's just like, I'm here. And I'm looking to cure the degradation of the Stormcast souls because, somebody's got to. Sigmar won't do it.
Yep.
He's got a willing slave force. He's not going to rock the boat. And there's this great passage. It's like, Vandus Hammerhand is like, oh my God, Ionis, you're back, blah, blah, blah. It's going to be just like old times. We're going to have, we're going to rock the house. And Ionis is like, yeah, no, I have this writ from Sigmar. I'm here to take your best and your brightest warriors and put them into my warband so that I can go out and do what I need to do.
Yep.
And I'll see ya. Vandus is kind of like, but weren't we going to go to I thought we were going to go to the park today.
We're not going to go fight Corcus Call?
Yeah, because he's a little focused on that.
Yeah.
And I think Ionis sees that, and he's like, yeah, you're not the guy I need right now. And there's this super funny passage that it kind of speaks to the things I've said all along about Vandus is Ionis is like, I'm taking your best warriors, and in time, I may come for you, which basically tells me that he's looking at Vandus going, look, you're not A-team material.
Yeah.
But, if I have to scrape the bottom of the barrel to get this done, I'll be back for you. And, just that juxtaposition of, Vandus was the leader of the chamber and, he was, what he said was law. And now all of a sudden, Ionis comes back and he's like, yeah, you're not my boss.
Yeah.
So a lot of different little things. The theme throughout this book is Vandus is like solely focused on Corgus Cole. So he's been carrying this grudge for several hundred years. So much to the point, I'm actually going to read this passage. The Crusade petitioned Vandus to escort them across Cornate territory. The Lord Celestant was reluctant. Finding Corgus Cole took precedence over all else, especially with 2 of his chieftains allegedly abroad. So this is setting up the fact that Vandus is seriously going after to try to whoop Corgus. And later on in the book, he's going to whoop 2 of his big lieutenants. So obviously we're setting up for a big showdown between Corgus Cole and Vandus Hammerhand, which actually really bodes well for Chaos, which means they're probably going to get a book that focuses on them. And who knows, maybe a new Corgus Cole model.
Oh.
Maybe a revamp to that whole line to breathe some life into them, which would be awesome. That'd be just great. But at the end of that passage, and again, I'm going to read verbatim, in the end, it was Knave Blacktalon and her party who accompanied the Dawners, causing the Axian soldiers to mutter amongst themselves that Vandus was a far cry from the shining demigod of myth. So they are in 2 different spots in this book. They are hammering Vandus's divinity, if you will. I mean, he's literally been the poster boy for Stormcast for a long time. And in 2 different places, they're really insulting him and taking him down a peg, which, I don't know, it freaks me out a little bit where they're going with that storyline. And, you know, we were saying just a minute ago offline, maybe it's time to get rid of these older Stormcast heroes, if you will, who aren't really, they're not good heroes. They haven't been written well up to this point, and there's not much that's going to save them. So maybe this is the setup for a new group, a younger group of Stormcast to come in and start to exert their influence.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that, you know, how this is progressing, because Corgus Cole like whooped Vandus.
Yeah.
Every time he came across him, right? And I was like, why is Vandus actively seeking him out? Because every single time Daddy had to save you, right? He had to teleport you out before Corgus Cole killed you, right? Because he's got that axe that'll let him actually kill him. If you just stood still, Corgus Cole would come find you, Vandus.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to go find him.
It's so, he wants your head.
Yeah.
Badly. But honestly, in the writing of these 2 characters, they have made Corgus Cole a lot more interesting than Vandus. Vandus is focused and single-minded on mostly all the wrong things. And, you know, he's had a couple of very interesting moments where he was heroic. But overall, I don't find him to be something that I would hang my hat on if I was a Stormcast. To me, he's not an example of what it should be. Well, anyway, most of the lore in this book goes down that road. It takes a couple of pages to tell you what's going on, and these are all just little snippets. There's a page, a story about Knave Blacktalon. Then they go and they talk a little bit about the history of Axii and why it looks the way it does and why it is the way it is. And then they jump into ogre stuff. They jump into big time more ogre stuff.
Yeah, the maw pits.
Yeah, they give a great little storyline here about how the maw pits come to be. And oh my Lord, when we get to the maw pits, you'll want to read that 2 pages because it's cool. And then, you know, it's just each one of these is like a 2-page snippet. Yeah. And it ties some of the story together, and it lays the groundwork for going forward. Again, like I'm going to say, you're not buying this book for the great lore. Yeah. It's there and it's tolerable. I could not just sit down and read it. I found it was too disjointed. As individual stories, they're good, and you just pick it up, read a story, move along, do something else. But they are bringing Alariel back into the picture. They've had her on the periphery this whole time. Yeah. And I mean, she's still on the periphery, but you can kind of see that as this book ends and there's a big fight, and spoiler alert, spoiler alert, Krondys and Kragnos are going to fight at the end of this book, and Karzai is not with them. And Kragnos, sorry, he's a god. Okay. He gets the better of Krondys, and quite literally it's a deal where Krondys has to bring the fight toward, I mean, these are 2 behemoths. He brings the fight towards the free cities where the Fusiliers and the artilleries can jump into the fight, because Krondys is literally not able to pierce Kragnos' hide, even with his talons and with his ability, keeping in mind that he's he's the more thoughtful of the two dragons.
Yeah.
Karzai is a little bit more of the I'm a fighter guy, and he's not there. So the way that story ends up wrapping up, and the way the lore in this book ends up wrapping up, is Kragnos has Krondys by the throat and is literally choking the life out of him. And finally, the Fusiliers and the artillery and all the Free Cities guns start to have an effect. The Skaven are not able to pick them off quick enough to allow Kragnos to win that fight. There's a momentary pause. He loses the grip on the neck of Krondys. Krondys uses that opportunity to just get the heck out of Dodge.
Yep.
He flies the hell away, and Kragnos is just angry. You know, he might have rage issues. And he just goes bounding after him. So removes those two big players from the battlefield at this point, and you kind of see where they're setting up. It's got to be Krondys and Karzai to do something to Kragnos.
Yeah.
And too many Ks in this whole thing. It's like special K. But my whole thing, and it goes back to how they're kind of working Alariel back into this a little bit. I just see this as Kragnos is a god. He is a full-fledged god. Krondys and Karzai are dragons. They're very beefy. They're cool. They're not gods. Dracothian is a god. And I think in order to beat the bejesus out of Kragnos and put him back in his place, maybe not under the mountain because we need him. We got a model for him. But I think they either have to lean into... I don't see them bringing Dracothian into this because they haven't really mentioned him at all in any of this.
Yeah.
But I think Alariel's going to have to take an active part, or literally all of these good guys, all of the Order forces are going to have to get together and find a common ground and find a way to beat that centaurish, half-baked destruction god of coolness into the ground.
K.
Yeah, I mean, he is... I like the way they're portraying him. They're not really personalizing him. He is just literally a force of nature that hits the battlefield and just says, y'all are going to die. And that's all there is. And he's very destructive. He's very destruction. He's embodying the theory of, look, we're not here to talk. We're not here to gain ground.
Yeah.
We're here to beat you. And I like the way they're portraying him. He's not like a god that's like, oh, I have to increase the number of followers that I have, or I have to, take some more territory because I want to fight Sigmar. And no, he's like, I'm just here to just blow a path through this place, and you're in my way.
Yeah.
And you're a cute little dragon, but you're not me. So
It's sort of like Trug, right? Like it's just there's the shiny of the target, and so he just destroys his way towards the target and then destroys it, and then there's another target.
Yeah, shiny squirrel.
I mean, that's how destruction works. They're just sort of ping-ponging through.
Yeah, I mean, they can have
realms.
Yeah, they can have personalities. They can have depth to them, but their motivation is quite simple.
Yeah.
And they don't need some grandiose, here's our super plan to take over the realms. No, that's not them. That's a Nagash kind of stupidity.
Yeah.
So next up in the book, starting on about page 36, they do something in here that I really like. All of the models that they're introducing recently, they give, here's why this guy is important to the story. Here's what he's doing, what the deal is. So they have one for the Warden of Lost Souls, obviously, Ionis Cryptborn. They have the First Thorn of Kurnoth, which is Belthanos, who gets his own box. Then they go through a 2-page spread on the Black Talon. So if you haven't seen the animation, you can read these 2 pages and know why they are so very cool.
Yeah.
And I think kind of important as we go forward. And then they jump into the Lands of Turmoil, which is where they do that ground observer's point of view of what's been going on. Like, holy crap, I just saw these gods fighting each other. Right. That was kind of cool, but scary.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. And, they give a nice little layman's eye view of, hey, this Belthanos guy is really different for Sylvaneth, and why? And they give you that. And then, of course, they launch into pages and pages of this is what they look like when you paint them at GW quality. So, very nice. And then we finally jump into the rules.
Yes.
And these rules are different because the setup for the rules and the actual order of the pages and the way they present them is Armies of Renown are first, Regiment of Renown, then the War Scrolls, and then the Path to Glory. So I'm not saying they're trying to tamp down the Path to Glory, but the focus of this book is these new models.
Yeah. I mean, they give us part 2 of the Twin-Tailed Crusade, but what's interesting is how the book is structured. It says the rules, Armies of Renown, all this stuff, and then it's pages and pages of Path to Glory.
Yep.
Right, pages and pages of Path to Glory. There's a lot of scenarios in this one.
Yes, and they are super fleshing out this idea. Now, we covered the hell out of the Twin-Tailed Crusade. This is literally chapter 2. So everything we said about the first one that was so cool with you have the Axian Crusade as well as the Gyronite Crusade. So you're going to pick one, and then you have setbacks and blessings. Just the tables are laid out almost exactly the same with differences in the verbiage, but the overall effect is going to be the same. These are some great buffs or some very, very crushing penalties. In the actual branching storyline, one of the things that's really, I like the way they've added this, is you have the first battle, which is Into the Badlands, and it tells you the battle plan is Warlord of the Parch on page 66. I like this book because I get to use my desert terrain that I have several boxes of because, LVO.
Yep.
And there's finally a use. So in this one, it's not as laid out as easy as the other one was. If you win, you get a reward and you move to the second battle. If you lose, you have this big box where you have a decision to make.
I like that.
What you make for a decision leads to potentially different scenarios.
Yep.
So they are, I don't want to say, some of these scenarios are going to be very hard to win.
Yeah.
And it's more representative of the Crusade because the Crusade is not winning. In most cases, they are getting away with their force not that intact, but they've lost what they left behind.
Yeah.
And, everything that they've tried to defend so far has fallen.
Yeah.
And it's a really neat way of reinforcing the idea that, hey, if you won, hey, let's just, keep pressing on.
Yeah.
You're doing great. Awesome. If you lose, well, now we have to think about how are you going to figure out your army?
Yep.
And keeping in mind that this is a Cities of Sigmar campaign.
Correct.
And you're using those rules, so you're able to build your army up. And all of a sudden, that really starts to make a lot more sense.
Yes.
How you're able to just make a crazy big flexible army because you're going to need it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, you are.
And, I hate to say it, but the rewards for winning are paltry. I mean, and as well they should be.
Yeah.
You're on the campaign. You're on the march. It's not like, one of Abaddon's Crusade where you're after a specific piece. These victory things that you get are like, okay, so for the first one, in the Aftermath sequence, you can roll twice on the Axian Crusade Blessings table. Pick either result, not both. You get to pick one.
Ugh.
So it's not that, it's a good
It's
result,
good,
but it's not campaign changing.
no.
If you win the third battle, reward, you earn 1 treasure of Axii. Okay, wow. Really? All that work?
Oh, thank goodness.
And it's the same way for the Gyronite Crusade.
Yep.
Same deal. You have decision points in here. I love the way they're jumping into this and they're doubling down on the fact that you're probably going to lose.
Yeah.
Because everything is arrayed against you. And these scenarios are not, I set up and I get to win because it's easy for me. Nope, not. Then it goes into the 4 scenarios that are the meat of the Path to Glory campaign. And full disclosure, I briefly looked through these scenarios. They look reasonably balanced. However, they also look very focused on battle plan number 3 is the Fury of the Feared. That's a Firestorms game. That's a Firestar.
Fire Slayers.
Yeah. First day with the new lips. It's a Fire Slayers game. So.
Yeah, one of them sagging a little bit. You may need to get back to the doctor on that one.
Yeah. I need my Botox. Number 4, story battle plan number 4 is On the Wings of Death. And if you don't think Krontis and Karzai are in that game, I don't know, But again, these are the scenarios that pull from the storyline in the book.
Yeah.
And so you have to be flexible and you have to be ready to, as you read through the lore in this book, understand that you're going to need these armies. And it's going to be, honestly, I think this is going to be crazy fun to do if you have access to all the stuff you need.
Oh, yeah. No, I agree with that. I do agree with that. Kind of speaking of the stuff that you need, next is coming up is the actual new models and the armies of renown. So
the next few pages of the book, starting on page 78, are the new war scrolls. If you play Sylvaneth and you don't always want to lean into the magic and the making new forests and the big trees and the Tree Lord Ancient and Drycha, and you want to just do a little more beat face stuff, you have to get Belthanos.
Yep.
This is the first Thorn of Kurnoth, and everything about him is, well, we were talking about it just before the show. This is a martial army. This is a completely different way of playing Sylvaneth. And in the Regiment of Renown, where you get this guy and all of his toys, there are limitations baked in.
Yeah.
That make this such a different play style that if you have Sylvaneth and you're playing, you are just going to have an amazingly good time. You do need this box. You need Belthanos, but by and large, you have everything else that you need.
Yeah.
Just leave the Tree Lords at home because you won't need them. And this guy is beefy. He is 14 wounds, 3 up save, 9 bravery. Okay, whatever. He flies. He's got a mount that is just beat face. I'm not going to sit there and go over each part of his battle scroll, but understand that this guy, Illyria Light, without the healing.
Yeah, I mean, there's some baked into the
army. Yeah.
But this dude hits like a freight train. He's starting at he's flat 3 damage for his weapon. And then his bug, starts at 4 damage, right? Integrates over time, but not very much.
Yep.
He hurts, and he's got a 2-inch reach on everything. So he's reaching over, that first unit of Kurnothi that are right in front of him, with great swords or scythes or however you're making them.
Yep.
He is, and his model's beautiful. Dear Lord, it's so pretty.
Oh, it's so good. So good. And the beetle, oh God, it's
all about the beetle.
It is.
It is all about the beetle.
In fact, Sylvaneth could now just be called the Beatles.
Yeah.
So, sorry. Okay, so then they jump into the Army of Renown that includes Belthanor, and oh boy, talk about a distinct change for Sylvaneth. This is called the Evergreen Hunt. Let's see here. When you pick Sylvaneth faction for your army, you can say that it will be an Evergreen Hunt Army of Renown. If you do so, use the rules on these pages. Every unit in your army must have the Sylvaneth keyword, and either the Arch Revenant, Kurnoth Hunter, Revenant Seeker, or Spite Lord Lancer's keyword. Notice it doesn't say anything about Ancients or Tree Lord
Dryad.
or,
Say Dryad?
No, I don't. I don't see Dryads anywhere.
Okay.
Nope.
All right.
You're going out there to beat stuff up, not to sit around with a bunch of tree sprites. So the very first, to honor Kurnoth, friendly Evergreen Hunt units that do not have the hero keyword have the battle line, battlefield roll.
Everything's battle line now.
So build what you want.
Yeah.
You are taking a lot of Kurnoth.
Yeah.
You are taking a lot of Revenants. And the Arch Revenant, I love the way they included the Arch Revenant in this because that's really going to be your only access to magic. So, all right. Then you have their next rule is Rhythm of the Chase. After deployment, before players have determined who will take the first turn, you can pick one enemy unit on the battlefield to be your quarry. If the quarry is destroyed at the start of your next hero phase, Pick one unit on the battlefield to be the new quarry. So you're hunting. Go figure. Let's get into the harmonies of the hunt.
Oh, so good.
Okay, a lot of rules here, a lot of text. At the start of each battle round, after the priority roll has been made, each player commanding an evergreen hunt determines their hunting harmony for that battle round. Starting with the player taking the first turn. A hunting harmony is made up of a number of chords. You start with 0 chords and receive 1 chord for each of the following. I really think it's a lame tie-in to music.
Yeah.
But it's cute. Okay. So, what do you get? How do you get a chord? Well, you get a chord if a friendly Belthanos is on the battlefield. Okay, that's one.
Auto take.
Yeah. For each friendly evergreen hunt unit wholly within the same large quarter of the battlefield as their quarry. So if you're closing in on your quarry, you're getting 1 chord for each unit.
Yep.
For each quarry destroyed during the battle. So, yeah, if you do what you're being asked to do, you get bonuses. So, yay.
And that's cumulative right there if you look at it. Because remember that this is the chords per battle round.
Yes.
And so like, I've killed 2 quarries in the first battle round. So then you're getting 2 plus Belthanos, right? Plus anything near your quarry. So really keep that in mind when you're thinking about like having to reset your chords. Is that if you're doing what the army wants to do, you won't have to worry about it resetting, really.
Yep. The only nice part about this is the hunting harmony chords are all lost at the end of each round. So you're not banking these so that literally by turn 2 you have everything.
Yeah.
So basically, so at the beginning of each turn, for each friendly Belthanos, for each person that's going after, that's in the same quarter as the quarry, you're getting some. So you're obviously going to want to be going after your hunted unit.
Yep.
And then, of course, whether or not you destroyed your quarry is going to change your harmony during the turn.
Yep.
But you add up the number of chords you received and consult the harmony table to see which effects will apply to your army for that battle round. Effects are cumulative, like Josh said. So if you have 6, you get them all. If you have no chords, you're discordant, no effect. If you have 1, you have simple. You can add 1 to run and charge rolls for friendly units wholly within the same large quarter of the battlefield as their quarry.
Not bad.
Not bad. Number 2 chords. Tuneful. Add 1 to hit rolls and wound rolls for attacks made with melee weapons that target an enemy unit wholly within the same large quarter of the battlefield as their quarry. So shield busting,
Plus 1 to hit and wound.
Yeah, add 1 to hit and wound. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's kind of nice.
It was pretty good. It was pretty good.
Yeah, remember we're talking about Kurnoth here. So it's not like your slouch is going in anyway.
Yeah, you're going from what? 3s and 3s to 2s and 2s?
Yeah, kind of.
Oh my God.
Okay. So on a 3 to 5 chords, you are melodic. Add 1 to the attack characteristics of melee weapons used by friendly units while they're within 3 inches of the quarry. Okay.
Spicy.
Yeah, and let me tell you something. You're not going to pick the 5 wound hero as your quarry. I mean, you might do that in the first couple of turns just to get an easy kill, but yeah, you're going after something beefy. And then on a 6+, you're mellifluous, which I would actually have to look up because I don't know that word. But you are mellifluous.
Uh-huh.
While a friendly unit is wholly within the same large quarter of the battlefield as the quarry, it is eligible to fight in the combat phase if it is within 6 inches of the quarry instead of 3 inches and move an extra 3 inches when piling in. Why they don't just dial that down to you get a 6-inch pile in is beyond me. But so that's how the harmonies affect you. And remember, this is going to change every turn. So you're going to want to max this out as much as possible. Okay, so you have a rule, abundant growth. After territories are determined before faction terrain features are set up, you can pick up to 3 terrain features on the battlefield that are wholly outside enemy territory. These terrain features are considered by you to be overgrown terrain features.
Yep.
The bayou is key here. I'm not saying they turn into bayous. I'm saying they are usable by you as overgrown, but they don't affect the other guy.
Right.
At the start of your hero phase, you can heal 1 wound allocated to each friendly Evergreen Hunt unit that is wholly within 9 inches of an overgrown terrain feature. So choose wisely. Your 9-inch bubbles should overlap, but not by much. You want to have that whole board covered.
Yep.
So you get a heroic action, which is a prize quarry is sighted. Pick 1 friendly Evergreen Hunt hero and 1 enemy unit within 9 inches of that hero. The enemy unit becomes the quarry instead of the enemy unit that was picked to be the quarry. So this gives you the freedom to go, I made a really bad choice. I need to change.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is the role that allows Bill to keep playing in the game because, I'm serious. They're doing a lot of this throughout a lot of these different things that are coming out lately in Sigmar because it's going to even the playing field for the less advanced players like me. And then you have this is so messed up. You have a Merciful Strike Monstrous Rampage. So an Evergreen Hunt monster can carry out this rampage. If the quarry has any wounds allocated to it and is within 3 inches of this unit, roll a die, add the number of wounds allocated to the quarry to the roll. If the result is greater than the quarry's wound characteristic, 1 model in that unit is slain.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Can you say Nagash? Bye. So, and then I'm not going to go into these, but there are artifacts of power, grand strategies, command, battle tactics. This is a whole army, and it's a way to build a Sylvaneth army that is remarkably different in play style from your average Sylvaneth. And it breathes a lot of life into the Sylvaneth as a whole by giving you just an opportunity to play in a completely different way, which is awesome.
Yeah, very martial. Kurnoth, God, they're just going to be dialed up to the nines on this with those abilities. I was just pulling them up in the app, looking at the sides, right? Oh, my goodness.
Yeah,
I think
they're going to
be
be just ridiculous. And I kind of think this is sort of a throwback to all those people who in 1st and 2nd edition had a just ton of Kurnoth.
Yeah.
And then quite literally haven't been able to use them in 2 editions.
Yep.
Now, all of a sudden, yes, they're back.
I mean, sides with, if we get the +1 attack, so 4 attacks per model, 2s, -3, 2 damage.
Yeah.
Oh,
Vegematics.
Spicy.
Absolute Vegematics.
Spicy. If you do the great swords, you can spam for mortal wounds on those.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just amazing. And they've got, their Tanglethorn Thicket, so they do mortal wounds going in. After the combat phase, they do mortal wounds again. Like, it's just real spicy.
Yeah, they're Kurnoth. Yeah. And it's even worth taking a couple of bow hunters because they'll give you that. They just give you that ranged.
Yep.
Hi, I'm here to play with you.
Yeah, and you have the Spite Riders to come in and help out.
I really like this army. I honestly, as much as I like, having Drycha and the Derthus, and I'm seriously thinking about switching my build over to this.
I think you'd have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah.
And it's much more like destruction kind of play style.
It plays. I don't think Sylvaneth would have a grand time against ogres with their current methodology. You put this into the mix and they're going to stand toe to toe.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They could shred through some ogres
or toe to root. Excuse me.
Get into the root of it, right? Okay. Next up in the book, we get to Ionis Cryptborn and his army of renown, which is the Draconith Skywing.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Ionis, again, just one of the most amazing models I think they've ever released for Stormcast.
Yeah.
Like probably the best one they've ever released for Stormcast. He's Arch-Relictor, so he's got his, ability to pray. He's pretty fighty. Like, he's not Belthanos.
No.
But he's got a wider array of attacks, because
Yes.
they got the Spirit Scouring Flames for his range attack, Soulbreaker, Ancient Claws, and Time-Worn Fangs. So he's got like distances he can swing. The Time-Worn Fangs from his mount are just brutal. Cathorak, his Draconith. I just can't get over how pretty that model is.
Isn't it just so well executed?
They captured him really well, I believe, in terms of his character. I love how it's sort of like Vandus is like, hey, buddy, remember me? And he's like, I've moved on.
Yeah.
Right?
Did you not notice what I look like now?
Right?
I'm just like, wow.
I'm not dealing with you, Vandus. Just
Yeah. You are
like I said, you're not A-team material.
You're just not. I'm sorry.
So the Draconith Skywing is super exciting. Every unit in your army must have the Stormcast Eternal keyword and the Draconith keyword.
Oh my God.
Okay.
So that's limiting.
Yeah. But in a strange sort of turn of events, it turns Krondys and Karazai into battle line, which is just super fun.
Okay, that in and of itself, those 3 models, Ionis, Krondys, and that's a bulk of your army.
Yeah, it would be if you want to run all of them. My goodness. And Stormdrake Guard units that have 2 models are battle line.
Right.
Okay. Then the Draconith Guardians, essentially he gets a wound shrug over to any of the Draconiths if they're within 3 inches of him.
Sick.
Yeah, Exemplars of Fury. At the start of the combat phase, there are 2 or more other friendly Draconith Skywing units within 6 inches of a friendly hero. Add one of the attack characteristic of melee weapons used by that hero's mount until the end of that phase. So that's a lot of just trying to get to the by the way, Cathorak can hit harder as long as you've got Draconiths near Ionis, right? Really annoying.
It's sick.
And then for each Draconith Skywing hero you include in your army, you can include 1 Stormdrake Guard unit that has 1 model, and it does not have the battle line keyword.
Which is kind of a weird. I'm not certain what that was supposed to represent.
The Nitroconus, right?
Yeah.
So if you take Nitroconus, you have more heroes, because you're probably not taking Krondys or Karazai in this list. Just saying. It might be fun every now and then to test them out, but you're going to have like a Nitroconus and Ionis Cryptborn, probably.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
So you get Thunderous Roars. It's a heroic action that a friendly Draconith Skywing hero can use instead of any other heroic action. You pick 1 friendly Draconith Skywing hero and roll a dice on a 2+ until the end of that turn. Enemy units within 3 inches of that hero cannot receive the Inspiring Presence command. So you get a shut off immunity to battle shock, right? Storm Unleashed will be your monstrous rampages. A friendly Draconith can carry out one of these instead of any other monstrous rampage they could do. So you've got Stun. You pick an enemy unit within 3 inches and roll a dice on a 3+. Subtract 1 from wound rolls for attacks made by that unit. Really strong defensive tech, right?
Yep.
Anything you can do to mess with the wound roll, huge.
Yeah, very huge.
Impact Tremors. You pick 1 enemy unit within 3 inches of this unit, roll a dice on a 3+. In the following combat phase, models in that unit can only move up to 1 inch when they make a pile-in instead of up to 3. Real strong. Real strong. You essentially
Sickening strong.
You pin the enemy unit in place, essentially, right? Yeah, they've got an inch pile-in, but really, what's that going to help you with? As long as you like hit them on the edges, right?
Yeah.
Yep. I just tagged the corner, and you're not going to be able to get any attacks in on me while I sit here and blenderize you.
God.
So they have their command traits and stuff like that. They do have specific prayers. They do have 1 spell in the event that you're able to get one. And their grand strategy is you have 3 friendly Draconith units holding within 9 inches of each other. So that's assuming, you can keep your guys alive for that long. If you can, that's not a terrible one.
No.
Like it's been top of 5, or like bottom of 5, sorry, if you're going second. I'm just going to fly these 3 dudes together.
Yeah.
And
3.
There you go, 3 points. So long and short of it, I mean, it's fun. It's a really fun list. I think it could potentially get oppressive depending on how good someone is at spamming these Draconiths.
Yeah. And it's going to be one of those where you have to agree to play that.
Yeah.
Because that could be a very unfun matchup for a lot of armies.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, it definitely can be.
But I definitely think it's really worth a shot.
Yep.
That could be just crazy fun.
I think it'd be a great one. If you've already bought into dragons, Stormcast dragons, your time has come.
And again, if you bought into that spam from the early part of the edition,
Yeah.
the early part of the dragon releases where everybody was buying 6 or 8, and now the way the rules have been modified and you just can't use those anymore. Here's your chance.
Yeah.
Here is your chance. So moving on, we have the Black Talons.
Woohoo.
And I'm not going to go over each individual Black Talon, but basically the way these work, they have a couple of very cool rules. If your army has an Order General, but is not a Stormcast Eternals army, you can include these war scrolls in your army as a special type of ally called the Black Talons Regiment of Renown. If you do so, no other allied units can be included in your army. So it's sort of limiting, but they're going to be fun to play. And again, these are themey and I'm not sure that this is a tournament kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
The organization is Nev Black Talon. Nev's Black Talon companion unit, and a Lori Child of the Abyss. So if the Black Talons Regiment of Renown is included in your army, the following ability applies. Justice will be served. The Black Talons have a ward of 6 up.
There you go.
So it's just a little extra. So Neve Black Talon finally, I think, gets the love she's always deserved.
Yep.
She gets beefy.
Yeah.
She gets 6 wounds, an 8-inch move, a 3-up save, 10 bravery, of course. With her Bolt Storm pistol, she's got a 12-inch range, 3s, rend 1, damage 1. Not bad. Her Whirlwind axes have a 2-inch range. Very nice. Thank you.
Love it.
7 attacks, hitting on 2s, wounding on 3s, rend 2 damage.
Oh, yeah.
She's a little better in melee.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, yeah.
If she's attacking a hero, you add 1 to the damage characteristic of the unit's Whirlwind axes.
Oops.
So 7 attacks with 3 damage each. Oh my. Sigmar's Assassin. The unit can run and shoot and or charge later on in the turn.
Oh, yeah.
Her best ability is Wind Rider. In your combat phase, immediately after this unit has fought and slain models, if any, have been removed from play, you can roll a die. On a 2-up, remove this unit from the battlefield, set it up again more than 3 inches away from all enemy units, and wholly within 3 inches of a friendly Black Talons unit that is more than 3 inches from all enemy units. So she goes in, she Vegematics, and she just gets right out.
Yep.
And you don't get to do anything about it. You just watch and go, I hate that woman. I literally hate that. She came in, blenderized my 9 frickin' wound model hero.
Right.
And just walked away before I could even go, wait, stop, don't.
Do you imagine her like just sailing into any of the 9-10 wound heroes like Dixessa and Sinessa, like,
yeah,
and just deleted. Just deleted.
Absolutely killing everything. So it is a regiment of renown. It is pricey. So the Black Talon, her companions, and Lori, the Child of the Abyss, 340 points, single, unique, and they have to be taken as a set.
Oof.
So
yeah,
it's a chunk.
It is.
But if you are playing any order army, have fun.
Yeah, try it out.
Have fun with this. It's going to be a blast. Again, she can't go into a Stormcast army, which is so weird. If your army has an order general, but is not a Stormcast Eternals army, so she won't work with her friends. She'll work with, everyone else. So again, I would take her with Belthanos's.
Oh, right.
So now we get to the meat of the book.
Yeah.
I had to use the same tired freaking trope. Sorry.
All right, we got meaty men slapping meat. It is time for the Ogor Mod tribes.
That's just so wrong.
This army of renown is built off essentially the back of the new Maw pack, as well as the Maw pit. And the Maw pit, by the way, is a replacement for your Maw pot, right? It does not do the same thing.
Oh my God, no.
It is better.
Oh, it is better by leaps and bounds.
And bounds.
And regeneration.
Yep.
And yeah.
So you can only have one of these. So the thing about this, though, when you set it up, it only needs to be set wholly outside enemy territory and more than 3 inches from objectives and other terrain features. That's right. You don't need to set up your faction terrain in your territory. Oh, so good.
And that is just really sick.
Yes. Oh, yes. Because you want this to be, in position. Because at the end of the charge phase, the player whose turn is taking place must roll a dice for each unit in their army that is within 12 inches of this terrain feature. Within, not wholly within. Within 12 inches of the terrain feature and within 12 inches of any units in their opponent's army and more than 3 inches from all units in their opponent's army. So if you didn't charge, if you're trying to play KG, it's going to punish you.
Yes.
Because then when you roll that dice on a 3-up, the unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. You are not charging in. You are not getting into combat. You are not feeding the Maw pit, so it will feed on you.
That's just not fair.
No, not at all. If this terrain feature has a head butcher, which is, by the way, you just garrison a butcher on it.
Yes.
This ability affects units within 18 inches instead of just 12. It has no effect on gut buster units.
Oh my God. So it only affects the bad guys.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a stupid rule. I love that. Oh my
So stupid
God,
and
that is
so good.
This is one of the best pieces of faction terrain out there.
Yeah. I mean, it single-handedly, aside from the Maw Pack being in that box, the Hunters and the Hunted,
Yeah.
It made that box worth buying.
Yes.
So the Head Butcher, if the terrain feature has a Head Butcher in your hero phase, you can say that an offering will be made to the Maw Pit. If you do so, pick one enemy unit within 18 inches of terrain and roll a d6. If that roll is more than twice that enemy's wounds characteristic, one model in that unit is slain. If the roll is more than 3 times the enemy unit's wound characteristic, 3 models in that unit are slain.
So ridiculous.
Just for having a duder on the terrain, which, by the way, is extending his spell casting range, and they have some good spells now. And probably, I think, everyone's favorite rule for flavor, it fights back.
Oh, God.
If this terrain feature is picked as the target of the Smash Trouble Monstrous Rampage, and the Monstrous Rampage is unsuccessful, the monster that carried out that Monstrous Rampage suffers 3d6 mortal wounds.
3d6.
Yeah.
So if you are thinking about just, I love it. It's so sick. This is the pit of Sarlacc. Okay. This is Star Wars hitting Sigmar.
Oh, and it looks like it too.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, it does. It's just a gorgeous model. I think, to be flat out honest, I think the Maw Pot was underwhelming.
Oh, yeah.
As far as faction terrain goes, and what some of the other faction terrains did in relation to it. This is faction terrain dialed up to 11. I mean, it is literally, that is destruction terrain. Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah. It's so amazing looking. It's huge.
Yeah.
It's a huge footprint.
It's a big piece. It's going to be hard to put on the board. I mean, you're going to have to make allowances.
Yeah.
You're going to have to work with your opponent to place it.
Yeah, I mean, you could probably get it back in your deployment zone if you're going to be garrisoning the Butcher, right? So you get 18 inches out. So it's some defensive tech. You're coming to my side of the table. Yeah. This is not going to go well for you.
It is nice in that you have that flexibility of how to deploy it. And you, like you said, you can place it defensively or you can place it as a weapon.
Yep.
And if you place it, forward, you have to get there and garrison it with a Butcher to really get the effect out of it.
Yeah.
But it's doable and yeah.
I can't wait for that one game. God, if anyone out there sees this happen on a bat report, let me know, where someone walks the monster up, fails the smash to rubble, and they take 18 mortals. I want to see that.
Dear God, can you imagine? I've got my giant coming up there on 16 wounds. I'm like, yeah, no biggie. I'm just going to stomp this thing into the ground. Bye. Oh, that was crap.
Roll a 1. Oh, no.
Oh, dear God.
What have I done?
Wait, don't pick up those dice yet. Let me say a prayer.
Right.
Now, isn't there a thing on there that it also comes back?
There's nothing in its rules, but let me see what we have here, okay?
Okay.
So the Roving Maw is the Army of Renown.
Yes.
Every unit in your army must have the Ogre Maw tribes and either Gutbusters or Gorgers keywords. So you are not getting your BCR in here. This is all your foot duders.
Which is
right?
Bullcrap, but okay.
I mean, they do leave a lot of bullcrap. You've seen how those Stonehorns look.
Yes.
So the Maw Pits are featuring here. I mean, not just the, actual model.
Yeah.
But the Maw Pits of Gur, they are aggressive, teeth-filled rents in the ground, drawn to the wider realms by the Butcher's gastromantic magic, right? So at the start of each battle round, after determining which player will take the first turn, you must determine the hunger status of the Maw Pit on the battlefield by rolling 2d6. If you include a Maw Pit in your army, add the number of models slain by its Head Butcher ability during the battle to the roll.
Disgusting.
Yeah, so you got to keep stacking and stacking. If the Maw Pit is garrisoned by Head Butcher, add 1 to the roll. Then pick one result from the Maw Pit table that has a score equal to or less than your modified die roll and apply it for that battle round. A unit is vulnerable to the Maw Pits if it is on the battlefield unless it's wholly within 1 inch of a terrain feature that is not a Maw Pit or can fly.
Yeah.
So if there's open ground, it is not going to go well. No. It has no effect on roving Maw units. That's right. Again, it does not affect you. So score of 2 to 3, subdued, no effect.
Yeah.
4 to 5, it's just peckish.
Yeah.
Subtract 1 from bravery characteristic of units that are vulnerable to Maw Pits.
I'm a little hungry.
Yeah. 6 to 8, it's rumbling. Roll a dice for each unit that is vulnerable to mob hits. On a 5+, the unit suffers 1 mortal wound. All right, that's starting to do some damage,
I
right?
got a rumbly in my tumbly. Okay, Winnie the Pooh.
Right. 9 to 11, it's famished. Units that are vulnerable to mob hits and that do not have the hero keyword cannot issue commands.
Oh, dear God.
So it shuts down anything that's not a hero from issuing commands.
Just imagine what you can do to your opponent with that.
Yeah.
That's sick. Sick.
Not a 6 is 12+, Bill, because, dear Lord, Ravenous. Roll a dice for each unit that is vulnerable to mob hits. On a 4+, the unit suffers D3 mortal wounds.
I think I'd almost rather have the 9 to 11.
It depends on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to spike mortal wounds across the entire battlefield,
Yep.
Woo. So then you have a rule driven by starvation. Friendly Gorger units that are not wholly within 1 inch of a terrain feature at the start of your charge phase can attempt to charge even if they ran in the same turn. So if they run out onto open ground, then they get to run and charge.
Yeah, it's like the direct opposite. So
Yeah.
you have the freedom of operating in vast expanses of the board where your opponent literally has to have something they can cling to,
Yeah.
or they get dragged into the maw pit.
Yep. Butcher's Kitchen. For each butcher, including your army, you can include 1 Gorger unit as a battle line unit.
Okay.
Good.
This
Good.
is just getting dumb now.
Ravenous Brutes. This is your hungry and eating. So you have to move 2 inches or you have 2+ bravery.
Yep.
Might makes right. Again, ogre models count as 2. Heroes count as 5.
Yep.
Gobbling Bites, though. I think this went up in damage. So at the end of the combat phase, roll a dice for each enemy unit within 3 inches of any friendly Gutbuster unit. On a 2+, the unit suffers D3 plus 1 mortal wounds.
Interesting.
So I think it actually hits them more. The only command trait you're allowed is that your Roving Maw General, which is going to be your butcher, knows all the spells from the Lord of the Great Maw.
Yeah. Kind of makes sense.
Oh, spicy. Okay. Sorry, I was just reading over that spell lore again, because for a second I thought that Retcher was way more powerful than it was. Artifact power, there's only 1 flask of concealed Maw juices.
Oh,
It's a once per battle ability. I mean, you have to take it, or generic.
Yeah.
Right? Probably end up taking a generic. Yeah, you get 3 battle tactics, which is, look at this one. That was just a morsel. You complete this tactic if any enemy models were slain by the Maw Pit's head butcher ability in this turn. Are you serious?
Yeah.
Like auto take, like, yeah, okay, I get that one, right? Then you have Slavering Ambush, which is like, you get this if your Gorgers are set up doing their ambush and they charge.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm taking that battle tactic. We eated them all. Pick 1 objective controlled by your opponent. You complete this tactic if you control that objective at the end of the turn and there are no enemy models contesting it.
Yeah. Generic.
Those are all really good.
Yeah.
Really consistent.
And doable.
Grand strategy, the empty stomach, still not satiated. When the battle ends, you complete this grand strategy with 6 or more enemy models were slain by the Maw Pit head butcher's ability.
And since you're going to be tracking that anyway,
Yep.
that's not one you have to go back and think about. Since you're going to track that for the adds to the die roll, you know, you're going to have some sort of marker on that thing showing how much it's eaten.
Yeah. And then, like, the spells are pretty decent. You can make someone vulnerable.
Yeah.
Retcher is the one I had to reread a couple times because it says if successfully cast until your next hero phase, improve the rank characteristic of melee weapons used by the caster by 2. And I was like, wait. Am I giving +2 rend to a unit? Oh, no, it's just him. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, wait a second.
Yeah, wait a minute.
He's going to be like, what, rend 3 or 4 with his butcher's cleaver?
Jesus, that's...
Or his tenderizer? Oh.
Yeah, go ahead. Come at me, bro. Come at me.
That army is going to be bonkers fun.
It will be fun.
And it's not really interacting in any meaningful way with your opponent. It's not like, oh, I'm trying to stop spellcasting. No, I'm just throwing wounds at you. I'm affecting you. And you have no way to stop it without trying to stomp on this thing.
Yeah.
And if you do and you mess up, you're taking 3d6 mortal wounds.
Yeah, you better have a plan because yeah, when that die roll goes against you, the game is pretty much over.
Yeah.
So
could you imagine just losing like your tech list to it? You know, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, oh, it's sick. But all of these, you know, let's face it, folks. We're getting toward the end of the edition. Some of these armies of renown that are coming out are over the top.
Right.
And, you know, Winds of Magic level craziness.
Right.
All right. And the last army we have in this book is a little something for the Fire Slayers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the Keepers of the Beasts. So the war scroll for this one is, of course, the Vulcan Flame Seekers.
Mm-hmm.
1 in every 9 units in this unit must be a Vulcan Rune Father. You are faction locked to Lofnir, but no big deal because you're gonna want that anyway because of the Army of Renown. 1 in every 9 models in this unit also has to be a Droth Master. 1 in every 9 models has to be a Kindle Droth. So you have some build restrictions here. However, don't worry, you want them anyway.
Baby Magdroth.
Yeah.
I just want baby Magmadroths all day.
Yeah, all of them.
That's what this unit does for you folks.
Yes, all of them. All of the Magmadroths. While this unit includes a Droth Master, enemy monsters within 3 inches of this unit cannot carry out monstrous rampages.
Oops.
So this is infantry protection. Who knew? They also have the Kindle Droth. He brings, at the end of the combat phase, pick one enemy unit within 1 inch of this unit's Kindle Droth and roll 2 dice. For each 4 up, the enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound. What?
Anger puppy.
Just a little. Wow. So you definitely need this box set. If you play Fire Slayers, get this box.
I think they just recently released it split up from the other box it was with, right?
Yeah.
So you can get it individually now.
Yep. Okay, so the Army of Renown is the Lofnir Droth Keepers. When you pick Fire Slayer's faction for your army, you can say it will be a Lofnir Droth Keeper Army of Renown. If you do so, you use only the rules on these pages. Must have the Fire Slayer keyword, and unique units can only be included if they have the Lofnir keyword. Again, you're faction locked. Get over it. So at that point, all units in your army gain the Lofnir Droth Keeper's keyword. Oh, that's handy.
Yep.
So your battle traits for this Army of Renown are Daring Tamers. The Strike Last effect applies to enemy monster units while they are within 3 inches of 2 or more friendly Vulcan Flameseekers units. Okay, I can deal with that. If you're going monster hunting, you're going in packs, and you're gonna have that. If you get caught out on your own, well, you're hosed. I'm sorry, but you deployed like I do. Okay,
there you go.
Yeah. So then you have honor-bound Droth Masters. So friendly Vulcan Flameseeker units have the battle line battlefield roll. In addition, for each Vulcan Flameseekers unit included in your army, you can include 1 Auric Runeson on Magmadroth as a battle line unit.
Love it.
Oh, God. Okay. Yeah, so bring all the beasties. Next up, you have Flame-Filled Beasts. You can pick up to 3 Lofnir Droth Keeper units in your army to have different mount traits instead of 1. So now you get to spread the love around. It's awesome. Next up, your next rule is Skilled Droth Wranglers. Once per turn in your movement phase, you can pick 1 friendly Vulcan Flameseeker unit wholly within 6 inches of a friendly Magmadroth that has not yet moved in that phase and say it will hitch a lift on the Magmadroth. If you do so after you move the Magmadroth, instead of making a move with that unit, remove it from the battlefield and set it up again on the battlefield wholly within 6 inches of the Magmadroth and more than 3 inches from enemy units.
Oh my God.
So let's start with 3-inch charges are good. Let's also go, one of the problems with this has always been movement.
Yep.
And all of a sudden that goes away.
So you can slingshot your little foot monster hunter unit into the monster that you want to pin. Oh man.
And just as long as you have the other unit there to gain the 2 units, he's not going to be just taking you out with a rampage. It's amazing.
Well,
that is so good.
So the one guy will keep it from doing the monstrous rampage, and then if you get the second unit, then it strikes last, right?
Yeah.
Oh God.
Well, you need 2 units to be protected from. Wait a minute. Strike last. Yeah, no. Strike last is the 2. Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah.
Oh.
And it's just too easy to do.
You could set up these like just assassinate combos on monsters. Like Sons of Behemoth probably don't want to fight this Army of Renown.
No, they don't want to fight all these short, angry men.
Because you can imagine you're rushing up, depending on how close the 2 giants are, they could accidentally get tagged by both of the smaller units, but you just slingshot them up on a Magmadroth.
Yeah.
and then the Magmadroth will charge in and do the bulk of the damage.
Yeah.
Like, oh man.
And then anything else that needs to be done will be handled by the unit that you slingshotted.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Slingshot.
Slingshot? Yeah. Is that the past tense? Okay. Wow. Yes, we're tired and we're full of food. Okay. Last up, the last rule for them is protective family. While a Vulcan Flame Seeker's Kindle Droth is within 1 inch of a friendly Magmadroth, that Vulcan Flame Seeker's unit has a ward of 5 up. Okay, if you like hunting monsters and you're sad that we're not in the old battle pack that had monster stuff, yeah, play this.
Yeah.
You will have all kinds of fun. Now, if you go up against an army that has 0 monsters, yeah, why are you there? But if you go up against Seraphon or Sons of Behemoth or Ogres, you are just going to rip face.
Yeah.
Okay. So there is 3 monstrous rampages that are available to this army of renown.
Awesome.
They're called the Spawn of Volcatrix. When you carry out a monstrous rampage with a Magmadroth, you can use one of these. The first one is Rearing Punches. Pick 1 enemy unit within 3 inches of this unit. Roll 2 dice. Add 2 to each roll if that unit is a monster. For each 5 up, it suffers D3 mortal wounds. Wait, what? Okay. So you're basically up to 4 dice doing D3 mortal wounds. So potentially 4 to 12 mortal wounds.
Love it.
Thank you. Hi, this is my introduction to how I'm going to kill you. Okay, next up is Magma Fueled Grasp. Pick 1 enemy monster within 3 inches of this unit and roll a die. On a 3-up, improve the rend characteristic of melee weapons used by other friendly Lofnir Drothkeeper's units that target that monster by 1 in the following combat phase. Is this not stupid when combined with the Magmadroth slingshot?
Yeah, this is really just synergizing Magmadroths and the Keepers, just back and forth, back and forth. I love it.
It's ridiculous. This is just... In fact, that unit that you slingshot to get the 2 units within range can actually be wailing on a different monster.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Last up for the rampages is Eruption of Ferocity. Pick 1 enemy unit within 3 inches of this unit. Roll a die. On a 2-up, ward rolls cannot be made for that unit. Models in that unit in the following combat phase. So, oh, God. No, these are so dumb.
They're so good.
Yeah, they are. It goes on. You've got command traits. You got artifact of power. You got some battle tactics, a grand strategy.
Tell us the mount traits, Bill.
The mount traits. Okay, so you have Pekdroth. If you have this mount trait in your movement phase before this unit makes a move, wait a minute, you can pick 1 friendly Vulcan Flameseeker unit to hitch a ride on this Magmadroth. What? It's the same exact rule. You cannot hitch a lift on a Magmadroth more than once per phase. Multiple units cannot hitch a lift on the same Magmadroth in the same phase. So quite literally, you're getting a minimum of 2 slingshots by just putting this on one of your other Magmadroths.
Which is what you want to get the Wombo combo.
Yes, you're going to need this. It's ridiculous.
Oh, God.
It is so good because you have, of course... The battle trait is Skilled Droth Wrangler, so you just automatically get that 1. Now you put this mount trait, and again, you have the ability, Flame-Filled Beast, you can pick 3 Drothkeeper units to have different mount traits. So you're going to have a minimum of 2 of those. Awesome. All right, next mount trait is Red Hot Fury. At the end of the enemy charge phase, before carrying out monstrous rampages, if this unit is more than 3 inches from all enemy units, it can attempt to charge. It must finish the charge move within 1/2 inch of an enemy that is itself within 3 inches of a friendly Vulcan Flameseeker's Kindle Droth. Slightly wordy in there,
Yeah.
but basically you're going in there to support the Kindle Droth. And if for some reason you missed your move or your charge, you didn't do it right, this is a built-in fix.
Yeah.
You can fix it and not just lose your Kindle Droth because you did something bad. And then Scalding Steam Breath. If the target is a monster, the damage characteristic of this unit's blazing maw is 3 instead of D3. So eliminate variability. Always nice.
Always nice.
Always nice. And again, they have their battle tactics. They have their grand strategies. That's the Lofnir Drothkeepers. If you were of the opinion that Fire Slayers just don't have it, yeah, go up against a monster army with that.
I'd love to see that army in full effect. I'm sure there's some, Fire Slayer players out there really pushing this kind of list. I mean, Lofnir was fun anyway. That's the one where you just get all the Magma Droths. What they did is just upgraded Lofnir to include this other stuff.
And it's so situational because if you're going up against Cruel Boys, none of that applies except for, if you go up against the Crow or something, but hardly any of that. But if you go up against Sons of Behemoth, you just turned that game from what could potentially have been a wipeout because you couldn't hurt them to you're just going to drop one a turn.
Oh, yeah.
And your opponent has to know that and has to plan around that because whichever one you pick, and potentially two, it's going to drop. I don't care about the wound numbers. You're going to drop it.
Well, the Suns want to, just march forward and stand on points. But when you've got legitimate threats that whenever you march forward goes away, like that's intense. Mm-hmm. That's intense. Imagine I've got King. King Broad's dead.
Yeah, King.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, nothing is immune.
That was the long and short
I get
of
it.
Book 3, The Long Hunt.
Yeah, that's the meat of the book. It's got the continuation of the Path to Glory, which is bonkers good. Mm-hmm. And if you have been playing through that campaign, this is an amazing addition.
Yeah.
And you will just enjoy the hell out of playing these scenarios with this Path to Glory in here and continuing your Cities of Sigmar crusade. It's just going to be fun.
And while the story is sort of just all right, we're just kind of progressing or tying up these little pieces here and there, it did give us probably some of the most beautiful models that they've released for a Dawnbringers book.
I mean, this book is literally here to service those boxes that came out, and it does a fine job of it. They're not trying to push the lore forward, or the story forward in any crazy way. When you really look at the lore, you're just going to be you're just inching forward.
Yeah.
You're just literally adding these characters, adding these new things, giving them a reason to be there, but really not adjusting the story. I think book 4, we will see a lot more of the narrative going crazy as far as the Crusades are concerned. I'm not talking about the whole Mortal Realms lore going forward, but for these 2 Crusades, you will start to see a lot more movement, and I think we will start to see the forces assembling for the final battle.
Yeah.
And it will probably be climactic because there's at least 2 gods that we know of that are going to be just all in on this one.
Yeah.
And Jesus, it's going to be good. All right.
Yeah, this is definitely that sort of mid-season, just trying to tie up a couple loose ends.
Catch your breath kind of thing. And they knew they were going to release these boxes and they knew they wanted to do all these things. And let's not screw up the story by making a bad decision and write ourselves into a corner that we don't want to, or we can't get out of. So again, it's light on the lore, but that's not why you're buying this book.
Nope.
You're buying it for these units. And again, it's the end of the edition. And I know we're still 6-8 months away, but if you're going to play these things, you have to lug this book around with you, but still it's worth it. If you really want to dive into that Dracothian, that Dragon Stormcast list, here's your chance to do it again. If you really want to do something totally different with Sylvaneth, totally different with Fire Slayers, here's your chance. Now, as far as the ogres go, I think this is just a revamp to their line, to their army and their play style. I kind of see why you would only want to play from this book.
Yeah.
Because it's just that good.
Yeah, you get just too much out of it. But, before Gutbusters didn't really have too much going for them.
Not really.
They had the cannon spam that used to be start out really strong when they first launched, and they did get a benefit when they changed up the coherency rules because now your 6-man unit of gluttons can be a wall that marches forward. So they've had some things that have been slowly sort of getting them to a place where they may need to be incremental changes. Then they dropped the Maw Pit and the Roving Maw, and it just went next level. So
Yes.
I am stoked to the max about this. I mean, like, really fun armies in here. It's more about the armies of renown and the models you get out of them than really the story right now.
Yeah.
It's just sort of teeing up for the next 2 books. But
Yep. I think they're just setting the stage, and it's a good idea to do it this way. Obviously, that plan was there all along, because I'm sure they didn't write this book in a week and send it to the printer. So they knew how this was going to shake out.
yeah.
That's cool. So that's kind of about it for the show.
Yeah, folks. So thanks for joining us today. It was a fun little romp through the Long Hunt. Can't wait for the next couple books. Can't wait to see what's next for AOS. But I guess I'll just say, well, if you're part of the Patreon, we'll see you after dark.
The music in the show is used courtesy of Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com and is used under the Creative Commons license. The Rolling Bad podcast itself is protected under the Creative Commons Attribution 4.0 International License. Information for this license can be found at creativecommons.org.